Christmas and Doctor Who go hand in hand. Yeah, but it's coming back. I've done a few videos talking about Doctor Who Christmas specials now. It's become a tradition in itself as the nights get darker, and I love producing them. This year, I'm taking a look at a 11th Doctor story, The Snowmen. 2012 was a strange point in the show's history. As they slowly build towards the 50th, the choice was made to split the season into 2 parts. Amy and Rory have departed in the summer, and the Snowmen promised a new companion in the form of Clara Oswald. Behind the scenes, Moffat was working flat out, prepping 2013's offerings, which are widely reported to be very close to The Wire in production. All of that while writing season 3 of Sherlock. As the season goes on, you start to feel that strain. A video series I may one day complete. The story opens on this gorgeous Victorian garden as a young boy constructs his snowman. Snow is a bit of a staple of Doctor Who stories. It looks great, and that is really tricky to do. I think the Victorian setting works very well for a Christmas story. It's entwined to the time of year. When I think Christmas, I think of A Christmas Carol and its multiple incarnations, most of which keep the setting. There's one set in modern day with Ross Kemp, which is a baffling watch.
People keep telling me it's Christmas.
The story also features sci-fi and sort of steampunk-esque devices like the Doctor's carriage telephone, a force field, a lightning-wielding snow globe, and a lizard woman from the dawn of time. It lends to the picture Moffat has of the show being a whimsical fairy tale. As Simeon goes on an evil villain stroll, he meets 2/3 of the Paternoster gang. They're kind of like Marmite. I like them, but I know a lot of people that really hate them. It does feel like we missed a chapter of the group forming, but it turns out it does exist. There is a mini episode I've just discovered called The Battle of Demon's Run. 2 days later, Strax is revived by Jenny and Vastra. They invite him to London as they have fought side by side. I don't think my house even had internet when this webisode was released, so this is my first exposure, hence the feeling of whiplash. I do think that it undermines the sacrifice Strax makes during A Good Man Goes to War. I imagine this was a late addition. I've grown to like them more, but I imagine it was very jarring at first. Vastra has been the inspiration for Sherlock Holmes, and Jenny has constructed a battle outfit. Okay, Moffat, calm down, it's Christmas. The best thing about this episode, though, is the gorgeous Strax. I'm sort of being serious. Dan Starkey's line delivery is amazing. The post-title scene with the memory worm is really funny. Even this year, it managed to catch me off guard and make me laugh.
I think I've been run over by a cab.
The Doctor's insults are ammunition I use against my short mother. You're not clever or funny, and you've got tiny little legs. I know this won't be for everyone, because it's an inside joke, but it's a comedy goldmine to me. It's not like I'd be biased or anything. The last of our main cast is Clara Oswald, the best variant. There must be a world where the Doctor travelled with this version. She's unique because she's a historical companion rather than being from the present day, like everyone else since 2005. Jenna Coleman does an amazing job. Her ability to use a Cockney voice, which scratches an itch in my brain, and then switch it to the posh governess. It's very impressive, and I think her and Strax carry the episode. Once she realises she needs the help of the Doctor, she's taken to Vastra to do a one-word test. Vastra is acting like an overzealous best friend, checking the quality of a new girlfriend. They support him in isolation, but they don't approve of it, so surely they want him to find a new purpose. Maybe they are worried that he's going to be burnt, which there is no evidence of because the Doctor hasn't travelled with a gold digger. Clara is able to pick up that she is lying, which begs the question why she's doing it in the first place. I guess they're trying to be secretive, but Vastra has just spilled the past trauma of the Doctor's life, so I feel like she knows too much at this point. It's a very weird scene to write about because I don't understand why it's here. Oh wait.
Pond.
That's why Vastra is acting like that, so we can be reminded of Amy. The Doctor is literally moping and holding her glasses.
I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
The Doctor is back, but it's a shame that the payoff is this very contrived scene. Before I talk about the Doctor, I would like to mention the Snowmen, because they are about to take a back seat in the story. I think certain shots of them look great, but I can't say they are frightening. A big issue with them is the fact that they are locked off CGI shots. You never see the Snowmen showing their pearly whites with another character in frame. There is a static stand-in, which looks like it's there for eye lines rather than something that should be in shot. I guess money put brakes on them being more. It cuts the tension when you have a shot without VFX and there's this big lump. Imagine a scene where the Doctor comes face to face with one as it grins maliciously. I think that would be a cool moment, but realistically it would just spit snow in your face. Oh Christ! Snowmen aren't inherently scary, but they can appear anywhere and trying to escape them is just about impossible. in the right weather conditions. The idea of snowmen could work for a scary villain. Remove the jolly smiles and the film The Snowman has a very different meaning. There's a scene with Clara in the first 10 minutes where they are melted with thought, and that blows any tension they may have for the rest of the episode, because they are so easily disposed of. The marketing leaned into them quite heavily, not to mention the title, so it's a shame that they don't hold their shape. I really wanted to do some kind of snow pun, and that was the best I had. Going back to the Doctor now, I love that he's in mourning. The relationship between him and the Ponds was lovely, and there's the element that their deaths were inevitable. Perhaps he should have kept his distance earlier to protect them as set up in Series 7A. The Victorian outfit that becomes his costume for the next run of episodes is a lovely touch. It shows that he's a darker Doctor now, and the colours of the Ponds has gone from his life. I love it. So let's get rid of that for his return scene. I suppose it's not stealing if you're the head writer of both shows. Moffat loves this type of humour, and with a theme that is reminiscent of Sherlock, it's a nice moment. He's using his powers of deduction to presumably mock Simeon, but he's actually catching himself up, disguising moments of exposition with jokes about Moriarty. He's locking the door to stop reinforcements and throwing a book on the floor. A great idea, doesn't work, I did check. And he's doing all of that to learn the Great Intelligence's plan for achieving a physical form. Things the audience already knows, so it makes the grand entrance a little bit anticlimactic. So let's wind it back, have another go.
Where's the Doctor? I don't know!
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor Who?
The Doctor's theme blares out and the punch gimmick is a memorable moment. It does beg the question why the Doctor playing dress-up was important for the story. You could have easily cut the scene and gone from the one-word test to the Doctor investigating the pond. It would have smoothed the pacing of the story a little, but it was a fun scene nevertheless. The Ice Lady works really well. I love how they put thought into her movement and the effects are very strong. Particularly the shot when she explodes and they transition between a CG model and what looks like real ice smashing. I don't know how they did that so seamlessly. As she drains through the carpet, all I've written in my notes here is bow tie symbolism. Smith's performance is amazing, the way he is frustrated with the fact he's going back on old habits, but sees himself in the mirror and comments on the bow tie he didn't know he put on. As many people have said, Smith is really good at portraying the old man in a young body, and to be able to be whimsical or silly with these moments of serious reflection is brilliant. The following sequence shows the 11th Doctor at his best. There's so many details in the performance, the scared look to then fake confidence, the parading around, and the
You're going to have to take those clothes off.
flirty dialogue from the asexual alien. Thanks, Moffat. That aside, I love this sequence. The Doctor taking the umbrella and testing Clara's intellect. Props have to be given to the Ice Lady for reforming so slowly so they can flirt more.
Ours are always front.
On.
I think my favourite moment of the episode is the Cloud TARDIS. It's a creative idea that Moffat is so good at coming up with, and it's executed beautifully. The staircase, the smoke floor minus the fake looking TARDIS, and of course the incredible shot that shows off the new interior. I love playing around with the size of the interior versus the exterior, and that hidden cut is incredible. It's a masterful shot, one of the best TARDIS introductions, but of course maybe that's nostalgia. I remember having Matt Smith in front of the TARDIS as the background for my iPod for years afterwards. We have the moment that many companions start with, the promise of adventures to come. Giving Clara the key seems quite forthcoming and a little bit too much, if I'm honest, but it's all done to subvert it and have Clara fall. I remember being upset but also confused because I knew she was the new companion. You'd presume she'd be fine from information in the story and news in the fandom, and I think that was a genius idea on Moffat's part. Her death here plays heavily into the Doctor's storyline. He's rejecting of companions but takes one in and has them cruelly taken away. It's a bit muddled along the way. The Doctor becomes hell-bent on finding out what she is rather than the duty of care angle, but it comes back in Series 8 with the 12th Doctor. After Vastra talks him down from blaming himself, he straightens his bow tie and takes us into the final confrontation. The Great Intelligence is a great idea, a monster that is very hard to write though, because the classic stories left a lot to the imagination. Part of me sees this story as an origin as it leads into the Web of Fear, but I don't think it establishes the entity very well. The series that follows interprets it as a form of AI, which is a stronger idea, but that comes later. In this episode, I think it fails to establish it as a big bad that will last a season, because I'm not sure what it's capable of and how it can be escalated to a finale. I think Moffat lost faith in it because we're about to go into the 50th anniversary and there were bigger fish to fry. It jumps into the Doctor's timeline and then kind of becomes irrelevant. This should be a huge thing, but they don't give it more than 5 minutes. Let's go back to the story in question though. Ian McKellen lending his voice works really well. I think that's mostly because he has a very commanding and wise voice. Richard E. Grant is a great actor, and I think his stern and bitter man works really well for this story. Like the Doctor says, he's encapsulating a Victorian value, a Scrooge-like figure, where his lonely life has left behind a broken husk of a man that is nothing more than a puppet. I think it would have been good for Simeon to have an empathetic brother that doesn't understand what's been wrong with him all these years. You could have Richard E. Grant showing signs of the boy within almost breaking free from manipulation, and I think that would have benefited the Great Intelligence's threat to see how it ruined this man's life. If you wanted to be clever, you could have that family lineage appear in some form during the series, so there is something personal. For example, wouldn't it be awful if each time that we see Simeon, there is less and less of the person he was before? But we're not going to do any of that because we have 10 minutes left and Clara hasn't popped her clogs yet. Within 2 minutes, we have the memory worm, the snow getting bigger, and White Walker Simeon.
Is coming.
I think that was Moffat throwing the kitchen sink at it. I'm going to pull the mic closer for this one because I think it's important. If you don't establish your main villain, your climax is more desperation than tension. It's a scene that doesn't know where it's going, leading to a false escalation of events. It begs questions like, why didn't it kill Simeon and take his place? He was a slave to the Great Intelligence, and there is no in-story reason for why he wouldn't sacrifice himself somehow to become the Great Intelligence's vessel. The puppet movements are quite good, and the way he squishes the Doctor's face did frighten me as a child. Not because he is being frozen, I just didn't like being touched. Back at the house, we have a lovely moment with Captain Latimer. You might not know who that is. He's the guy that's been swooning over Clara all story. Yes, him. He's very important. It's Victorian values once again, where the father figure is emotionally absent from their children. It's a very tender moment when Clara tells him to comfort them. Those children tearing up is able to melt the psychic snow. Oh, it's very sentimental and cheesy, but I think it's set up well earlier. You understand that thought melts the snow and it's all converging on the house. I'm a little bit nicer with Christmas stories pulling this move than I would be normally, but after 6 minutes of forcing climaxes, the race to the finish falls a little bit flat. The final scene of the episode is really good. I'm very happy I get to end on a high. I do like the idea of Clara being a mystery that the Doctor has to solve, and the conflict that it would cause from her being seen as a project and not a person. The Doctor has found a new focus within this story and is now set for more adventures post Amy Pond. That is the heart of the episode. Years after this episode's release, I decided to rewatch this story out of the blue, and it pulled me right into watching all of Series 7B. So it definitely does its job, never mind how it all turned out. If you remember last year, I was worried I would dislike The End of Time once I reviewed it. This year, I've realised that The Snowmen is not quite as good as I thought it was, and I found myself confused by more elements than I'd care to admit. With those things in the back of my mind, I still think it's really fun. The Cloud TARDIS, Clara's story, just about everything Strax says, I love it for that. And with the story being as old as it is, I can forgive it and focus on the nostalgic magical scenes that do exist. But sadly, it's not a timeless Victorian classic.